You're listening to Estrogen Dropouts.
Welcome back to Estrogen Dropouts. I'm one of your hosts, Elizabeth.
And I'm your other host, Erin. And today we are going to be talking about the topic of making a career shift in midlife. And we have a friend of mine on who has made that shift, and she's going to share her experience. Chantel is joining us today. So we're really excited to have her. So welcome, Chantel.
Thank you, Erin and Elizabeth. I'm so happy to be here. Thanks for inviting me to your podcast.
Yeah. Well, before we get started with you telling us about your experience with this, I wanted to share some statistics. Over 60 of professionals age 40 and older are considering a major career pivot, which that seems like so many to me. And they say that most midlife transitions, career transitions, happen between ages 40 to 55. And that they say that 35% of the career pivots happen after age 40. And that once people make that career pivot, which we'll get into about some of the reasons that people make these pivots, but up to 28% of people that make the switch experience higher job career satisfaction. And so I know that was probably part of the reason that you did this. So it's really interesting to see that this is not a one-off thing. It's actually very common. And they also say, some of the labor statistics say that workers between the ages of 45 and 55 will transition 2.2 times. So it's like, I think for the longest time, people are kind of doing the career, growing in corporate America or what have you. And then they just kind of are like, okay, you know what? It's time for a change. So
I'm so glad we're talking about this today. This is actually one of my favorite subjects. I love hearing a good reinvention story. But let's take it back to the beginning, Chantel, and tell us about the career you had prior to your big switch.
I was a quality manager for about 40 years, whether it was medical devices, pharmaceuticals, or at a hospital. And I made sure that everybody followed the rules, and I would check on people by doing internal audits. So I was a real standards and regulations person.
So very, very corporate focused.
Very.
When did you decide to make the switch? So you said 40 years you've been doing that in corporate America.
Correct.
Obviously we're successful. And then you recently, I know since we've been friends, had decided to make a switch. So tell us kind of what led you to make the switch and allowed you to do it at the time that you're doing it.
Well, I started doing a lot of self-reflection, and when I was growing up, in order to have your freedom, you had to have a college education, and the more right you were about things, the better for you. So you were paid to make sure you didn't make mistakes, at least in my field, right? And I got tired of being the one that was cleaning up mistakes or finding the errors and chasing down what was going wrong, and wanted to just enjoy a career where you would still be detail oriented, but it was a little bit more on the creative side because I never dropped my creativity, which was what I think made me so good at quality assurance. It was just being able to think outside of the box, which comes from creativity. But as time went on, I got more and more fatigued and less creative. And I started to get sicker and sicker and was going to the doctor, and there was high blood pressure, and there was a scare about possible breast cancer. And I just thought, if I drop dead, am I going to be happy with the way that I spent my life? So while I was proud of what I was doing, it wasn't enough for me. I needed to be able to enjoy my daily work.
I just posted a video. I cannot remember the actress's name, but she just said when she was accepting an award.
Viola Davis.
Yes,
'Cause I
Viola
watched it.
Davis. And she said, hell to me is meeting the person I could have become once I have passed, once I'm on the other side. And I just got chills again saying that. And I'm like, yes, this not having fulfilled and living a happy life is what drives me to reinvent myself constantly. So how old were you when you started really reflecting on this and when you started getting the nudge? And do you think I'm just curious, did hormones play a role? Do you think you were losing estrogen? I mean, obviously you're on the other side of it, and so you don't probably have regrets, but like at what age did that nudge start coming?
It started coming somewhere in my 40s, and I am in my 60s now. So for 20 years, I just kept holding down the fort and not daring to do what I wanted to do. But when I realized that my kids are fully grown, meaning like 37 and 41, they don't really need mom to provide for them or save them. And I didn't need a safety net, even though I didn't really prepare for this properly, financially, etc. I just did I'm going to leap and do it because I felt like it's either now or never. What am I going to offer myself? So I thought, what would 80-year-old me want to thank 60 plus me for doing that would make me feel happy regardless of how I look or anything? I would just look back and go, I'm so glad I made that choice. And so I decided to go into beauty school by being an esthetician because I always remembered the girls in high school who were in beauty school, and I would look at them wishing that I could do that, but I was caught up in the honors student path. And when you're that kind of student, books and brilliance and all A's mean everything. And I took that into my career as well.
Yeah, I think it's one of those things where people that go to beauty school, which like my hairdresser who I love, she just opted out of not going to college, went straight into beauty school as a hairdresser, makes great money now. So she was actually starting on her career like 3 years before most people were. But I think you're right. Society still has this idea that if you aren't pursuing a traditional education that's going to take you into corporate America and have you have 40 plus hour work weeks with less flexibility, Monday through Friday, commuting to work, that you're not valuable. It's like there's still this, I do think it's shifting a little bit. I think people are
I
going back.
definitely think it shifts it. I feel like
It
people
is
are
because
very open to alternative paths. I feel like college is such a waste for so many careers unless you're like a doctor, unless I think certifications are the way to go.
trade schools.
Trade schools, yeah.
Yeah, no, I think that there is starting to become this shift away from like people are looking more into trade schools, like becoming a plumber, becoming an HVAC. For one thing, most of those industries are AI proof, which we know. AI is cutting out middle managers. It's really changing the landscape of the career world. But I love that so in your 60s, right? Because this was just a couple of years ago that you made this switch.
Correct.
It's amazing. And you do not look like you are 60. I cannot believe it.
Thank you. Thank
Well,
you.
and she's going to keep getting younger too because she's going to be working all her esthetician magic on herself.
One of
Yeah.
these people,
Exactly. So
an
I
influencer.
think that's one of the reasons why I was like, I really want to have Chantel on is because, a lot of times I think people think I'm too old to make a change. I'm too set in my ways. Or everyone has kind of always viewed me as this one type of person. They viewed you as this corporate career driven woman who's extremely bright, knows her stuff. And so tell us about like when you were coming to this realization, like what were some of the thoughts that were going through your mind?
I would look at people who, let's say, like a plumber, and I go, plumber makes a lot of money. And I go, oh, an architect makes money, but he's sitting behind the desk. If he really wants to build something, I'm sure that he does something with his hands on his free time. I remember when I was in high school, there was this kid that was going to the vocational route to build boats. Do you think he's doing okay today in South Florida? I think he is. But I was still on that trajectory, like making sure that I was doing the smart side. And I just started admiring how people had agency over their lives, number one. Number two, I love that they got tips. Who gets a tip for writing a good report? Nobody. And the other thing was that eventually either they had their own salon or their own business, or they worked on projects here and there. So they could actually take some time off, like a month, without somebody saying, well, this is what we would hear in corporate. If you're gone for more than 2 weeks, then we don't really need you. So you didn't have control over your own schedule. Now, I know that they talk about jobs where you have unlimited PTO, but come on, if you're going to be gone that long, eventually they're going to say we don't need
They're going
you.
to replace you.
Yeah, yeah.
I
So you
love
have
too
to
that
be,
you said that because you did have a very analytical career, like everything was black and white and you had everything was like, but you found that there's still creativity in that. And so I think when we're thinking of different careers or thinking outside of the box and reinvention, a lot of times people associate creativity with art and painting and like makeup or fashion or something like that. But I mean, and yes, beauty school is definitely what people probably would think of as a creative outlet. But you also express that problem solving is a creative trait. And so
yes.
there are different fields if you're considering getting into something like cooking, becoming a chef. That is creative work. And there's still also the analytical piece, just like with estheticians. Like you've got to do everything. There's the science behind it. Yeah, that's interesting.
So
Yeah.
tell us, what are some of the obstacles that you've encountered along the way making this switch?
Well, when you start out as an esthetician, you don't get paid very well. You have to build up a clientele. And as time went on, it's been over a year, and I was like, oh my gosh, I can't find a job in my field. I couldn't go down because, I applied for positions that were lower on the totem pole and they wouldn't hire me. So I tried to diminish what I did on my resume, but somehow I was just not chosen. So that was the hardest part, doubting myself for making this choice without having created an entire plan. I did not do anything analytical. I just threw everything out and kept on going to school. But as I kept going to school and then I finished in April and got my license in June, I still couldn't find a job without experience per se, or they'd pick somebody else over me. And it was like, wow, what can I do? And I had to really believe in my path because it would have been very easy to quit that too after spending a little over a year studying and everything that I went through. So the obstacle, I'd say the greatest obstacle was making sure that if this is a dream that I want to make come true, that I'll hunker down and make it happen.
Do you feel like I mean, I know this is a little woo woo, but I'm woo woo.
Yeah,
Do
me
you
too.
feel like
He's woo woo.
Okay. Do you feel like the universe or God was supporting you? Like, do you feel like you had evidence of that along the way? Or do you feel like you were just going up climbing a blind mountain, like a mountain blind and you weren't getting any like encouragement or everything wasn't like falling into place? Like sometimes people think, oh, it's got to fall into place naturally or it's not meant to be.
I said this to my kids and some of my friends the other day. I didn't know whether the universe was telling me how badly do you want it or you're going down the wrong path. And I feel looking back that the universe was saying you're going to have to decide that. And that ticked me off because I was like, I want an answer.
Right. You're
Give
like,
me a
just point
clue.
me in the right direction.
Show me a billboard sign that has the answer on there. And for me in my life, those things do happen. But for some reason, I feel that my soul and my mind and everything was so entangled with my old sense of being that it took over a year for me to tease out what wasn't really me so that I could actually get to the point where it's like, okay, this is what I want. And
I
that's when
love that
things
because
move.
because what you're saying then basically is it doesn't always fall into place perfectly because that's what we like to romanticize. If this is meant to be, it's all the perfect opportunity is just going to show up or the perfect this or that. So what you're saying is that in the moment, it didn't feel perfect, but on the other side of it, I apparently does it. How does it feel? What are the best parts of it now?
Well, let me give you an example of how I think it works. When you're clear, then the universe is clear. Well, I went through a workshop this weekend because I volunteer for a personal development inner child workshop. And I was able to play the role of an evil mom. Like I had to say terrible things to a person to remind them of when they were a child and felt like nothing. While I didn't have that experience in my life, the expression of anger, which was something that I was not allowed to do as a child, helped me to have this fire go through me that burned away all the lack of clarity and made me say, all right, here's what I'm doing. I'm going to go back to nursing school so I can be an injector. What happened? This was last weekend. So what happened was I got my training to start the aesthetician school, but then I got this email like within a few days to say, hey, we've got phlebotomy scholarship. You won't have to pay a thing. Write an essay, and if you're chosen, you can go to phlebotomy school. And I went, that's a step toward nursing school. I had already applied for nursing school and got accepted by KSU. And I went, all right, I'll write the essay. So I wrote the essay the next day, and it got accepted by that afternoon. So I'm going to start phlebotomy school the same week that I'm starting esthetician school, which makes me go, wow. So I was getting in my way the whole time.
Yeah. So
That's
that whole
amazing.
time that you were like not getting a job, part of it, I wonder, is if because it's like your public persona, how you were, it's like you holding yourself back because it doesn't have the prestige as you saying, I'm a quality control director for Merck Pharmaceuticals or whatever. I mean, it's an impressive job title. And then you're like, oh, I'm an esthetician. And they're like, she basically cleans people's faces. I mean, it's like, do you think it was part of that thinking about how you were going to be viewed by people?
I wasn't really as concerned about that as I was concerned about the money. Like, how am I going to make this money again? How can I do this? I don't have what it takes to, to pay the rent for 6 months for a salon and then build up my clientele while I'm
Right.
paying for the rent. So it was just one of those things where I wasn't sure if I needed to go back to what I was doing in order to keep moving forward so I could pay my bills. And there's still some element of that because I realized that it doesn't have to be this or that. It could be that I just make it clear I am not going to go up to this level of where I was before because I don't want to, but I wouldn't mind teaching somebody what I know and support them. I'm clear about it. So now I just say to the universe, go. So if it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, then that's not what's supposed to be part of my life.
Right. And you're still, it's an evolution. You're still evolving and figuring it out. And you're just,
Yeah.
I think the key to that is the key I think that I often miss is clarity. And personally, because I'm always like, oh, what if? Like I play devil's advocate in my mind all the time.
Mm,
But I think that you're absolutely right. Like when you get clear, then that you'll definitely get an advancement. I think you'll advance. But I also think two things can be true at a single time. So the path you're on right now is correct, but that doesn't mean it's going to be where you're going to stay. Maybe just how this essay just kind of fell into your lap and you got accepted into this program. Maybe doors are going to continue to open, and what you're thinking, you're looking at it one way, you're going to end up somewhere else. But the point is, like, you've got to act and move towards something to change it.
absolutely. You bring up a good point that you may not end up where you thought you were going to be, but you needed to use some sort of energy to break from where you were. And I'm just as excited as everyone around me to find out how this story plays out.
You're like, hey, we're going to find out. No, but I think it's like because sometimes I think about my own journey. I went to real estate school in my 50s after my youngest child left for college. I started the podcast when my youngest went away to college. I did real estate for a hot minute. And then I was kind of like, oh gosh, it's not for me. But it moved me in the direction of, okay, where do I want to focus my energy? So then I did a functional medicine training program. And I've decided that I don't want to do that for like a living. I did it almost more for my own education, but it's just like each step has been opened up, like kind of like, okay, no, it's pivoted me. And some people probably, one of my girlfriends the other day, we went to lunch and I forget what I was saying. And she's like, you change careers every year. And I'm like, well, I mean, I was a yoga teacher and a yoga therapist for like 12 years consistently. But I just think that it's just part of, I think sometimes we also feel this pressure to have everything figured out. Like kids are trying to make a decision at 18 of what they're going to be for the rest of their life.
Mm-hmm.
I know my oldest son had that problem where he would go to college for a little bit. He'd drop out because he could never see himself doing something for the rest of his life or even knowing what he wanted to do for the rest of his life. And I'm like, y'all, I'm 56 and I'm still figuring out what I want to do with the rest of my life, And so I quit beating myself up that I didn't have it all figured out. And just once, and maybe that was kind of what was holding you back. It's like you're kind of keeping constraints on yourself because you think you have to do it this certain way that the way that either society or, family, friends, or whoever kind of have like made you think that is the way to do it? And
Well, and money, because too, if you're making a lot more money if consistently, and that is what's paying the mortgage and car payments, and that is a big gamble and so scary to walk
Yeah,
away from.
yeah, definitely.
I mean, that's different than like just follow my heart but my husband pays all the bills, so I can, that, which is kind of where I am. But like, if you're a primary breadwinner and you're paying big bills, you don't necessarily have the luxury all the time
Mhm.
of just saying peace out.
Yeah, but I did that anyway, and I'm like, "How could I be so stupid?" I beat myself up so much for not doing things in a planned out way. But if I look at the through line in my entire life, it was really that Oracle of Delphi, know thyself thing has been what has been playing through my entire life if I look back. What are the parts of me that are really me, not the me that was being molded by society or family or my perception of what society and family were expecting. So that is my through line. And anybody, even Erin, though people are saying you've changed your career, you're most likely you have a through line that is consistent, that is not for anybody else to understand, but it is for you to understand and feel good about you. It's all about autonomy and being your own sovereign being.
So how
yeah,
did
I
you
like it.
prepare for this financially? Did you save up for like a
I s-
while, or did you just say screw it, and or like did you sell the house? Did you
no,
downsize? Did you
I said screw it, and I had enough money to get another job in 6 months, and it stretched out to a year. I contacted my mortgage company, and they've been very helpful. So when I came from a position of thinking nobody's going to be there to help me because I've always carried the weight of everything myself, to finding that you can get a little support in life. As they say, I get by with a little bit of help from my friends. Well, there are people who don't even know you that are going to help you if you're willing to just adjust your ego a little bit. I'm not anti-ego. I love my ego. I think it's important for you to know who you are because ego just means self. But an ego where it's all about how you look to other people is going to stop you from getting where you want to go. I looked at people's stories of success, and there was always a time when they were living in their car and they were dumpster diving or other things. And I haven't had to do anything like that. Thank goodness, knocking on this desk. But I found support. I found a way to make it happen one day at a time and reducing things to one day at a time and sometimes minute by minute in a more positive mindset for just a few minutes than the doom prediction of the day goes away if that's your goal, because you have to actually want to release the doom in order for that to happen. But sometimes you just have to take it minute by minute or day by day, and then you go, wow, I'm still standing. Okay, let's keep going.
So not only changing careers and making a whole pivot, but also I think that's a big thing for women is being open to receive. Like we never want to ask for help. We
Yeah.
never want to be seen. I no, I don't. I don't ever want to be seen as weak. I can do it. I don't It's not that I don't need people because I mean I love people, but it's just some kind of weird, I don't know if it's conditioning. I don't want to ever have to ask for help.
Hmm.
So tell us like about like when you did. I know you shared a story with me about asking for help. Like has that, do you think, allowed you to like be almost more like human relatable? Just like
I feel I am more relatable. I used to think I was relatable because I was kind and, I was a good manager. But there was a part of me where people thought that I had it all figured out. And I thought I needed to portray myself as someone who's got it all together. And I'm not saying I have to look like somebody who doesn't have anything figured out. It's just, I don't know. I stopped judging myself. I found where I might have been judging others for not doing enough on their own, and just
you softened a little?
what's that?
Maybe it's a softening.
Yes, a softening. Speaking of softening, made me think of when I was growing up. I'm a big Greek mythology nut. I admired Athena. I rejected Aphrodite. Athena, the goddess of wisdom and intellect and justifiable war, fighting for others' rights. Awesome. Aphrodite, beauty, sexuality. But as I learned more about Aphrodite, Venus, I learned that she also blesses a good relationship. She also is into your appearance. And I thought, you know what? I think it's time for my Aphrodite time. So, yes, absorbing and embracing beauty and kindness and gentleness without losing being the queen of all that you survey is a very important thing. And it took me this long, meaning over a year, of focusing on being receptive and letting others help me, even if it was just a kind word or wisdom. I didn't have to be the wise one all the time. It has really helped me a lot.
Yeah, it seems like this whole like career pivot is it's more than just structural. Like this is a deep awakening within yourself that and you've had to really self-reflect, get to know yourself, open up new areas of yourself, strip away so much conditioned. Where do you recommend that like women start with the process of reflecting and stripping away and like
Well, for many years, I've studied with a local teacher named Lisa Michaels, and I've been part of her group of, these woo-woo women. And we learn about how the elements show up in our lives. So the elements are earth, water, fire, air,
Mhm.
and spirit. We also learned about different aspects in our chart and how to embrace that. So after I learned that, and I thought that I could teach it from my head, I realized I wasn't really embodying it as much as I thought I was. So when I see money is something that I don't have, I ask myself, what is my relationship to my prosperity? What are the plans that I need to put into place? That's a very earth thing. What is the structure that needs to be done? Then my emotions and how things flow is a very water thing. So these are the contemplations that I have. And then looking at nature and saying, an apple tree has one apple but many seeds, and every seed has the potential of becoming another apple tree that has many apples with many seeds. So we should prosper. That's a very natural thing. So just thinking of nature as my guide has helped me to soften instead of using a more patriarchal perspective, which is important for building buildings and paving roads, but for addressing being human, I find that the feminine approach has been very helpful to me.
So, what would you say has been the best thing that has come out of this change that you've made?
I have met some phenomenal people who have been on their own path and listened to their stories and have them embrace me as part of their life. Like last night, I was at a ladies' supper club where out of the five of us, each woman will be the hostess and cook something. And so cooking and chatting, getting together is a very feminine community kind of thing. So I met them during this time period. I also met some other women who have gone into the arts. Some of them are in their 80s and used to be corporate-y, but now one woman has an art studio that she put a little hut or something on her property, and that's her art studio. So I'm seeing the embodiment of embracing your feminine, and I'm also seeing how other women are leading others to discover what's inside of them. So that weekend workshop was created by a woman, and it's helped a lot of people to get in touch with their inner child. So
So I love to because we talk a lot about community in here and a lot of women in midlife when their kids they have empty nest, they all of a sudden realize they don't have a community
mm,
because they gave everything to their family.
mhm.
How did you find your community? It sounds like you have a really great, strong community that supports you and that you learn from and grow from. How did you find the people you fit in with?
Well, I have always been willing to make new friends. And sometimes the people that I made friends with, I didn't agree with like 30 years ago because they were more woo-woo than I was. So I was like just coming out of thinking in the structured way that I was raised to think. And then little by little, I'd meet new people and I'd actually say yes to an invitation. So there'd always be an invitation to something, and I'd say yes. And when you find that you have something in common, you continue to say yes and engage with those people. If you don't really have anything in common, you don't continue to say yes. So eventually, I found that the people I knew each other.
Mm.
So it's as if I was being woven into a community setting, and I feel like I belong to a few groups of people who may not know each other, but wouldn't mind getting to know each other. So there would be an alignment should I introduce those people to each other. It's not that we have to believe in things the same way. We just have to have the capacity to accept people as they are. And that's the only requirement that I have, is not to be so judgmental. Just follow your own path and let others follow their path, and we'll get along fine.
Yeah, I think that's one of the things that age brings us, is that ability to suspend judgment of other people. I know I certainly have gotten way more liberal minded, like just growing up in church,
Mhm,
growing up as a good girl,
mhm,
just what was expected of me, and judging the judgments that I had from my upbringing. And just, I feel like the older I get, the less I judge. And I just am so much more tolerant. And it's not even like, I mean, there's still certain things that I believe ethically are wrong. Murder. I mean, things like
yeah,
that I think are justifiably judged by society, right? I'm not talking about that, but it's just so, it's like when you are able to get to that point where you are able to not judge. And I mean, don't get me wrong, I still have my moments of, being, I'm totally human, but anytime I find myself judging, I think like, why am I doing that? Like I get, instead of letting it continue on, I investigate. And it's usually because it's triggered me in some way. But once I can, like, okay, it's like so freeing. It's like I don't have to worry about other people in the way, like, it's like it just allows you to be open to new experiences and new friendships and just all of the things that I think when we're judging, it just limits us in this way that prevents some of the best experiences in life.
mhm,
I think I'm the odd duck here because I was always super open-minded and liberal and like had tons of friends. And if you believed one way that was opposed different than me, I'm like, you're on your own path, sister. Think whatever you want, but I know in my heart what's true. But now that I'm 50, and maybe it's because I'm losing estrogen, I am judging more than I ever have. And I'm like, no, I'm not entertaining you because you're cuckoo cuckoo. No, like, I'm like, oh, you did what? No, not socializing with that.
It's not necessarily, it's fine to have boundaries. So
right.
I'm not saying that no, I have more boundaries now, but I can still be non-judgmental of that person. It doesn't necessarily, it's not an open invitation for them to be a part of my life. But
Mhm,
it's just like I'm able to like maybe see the bigger picture. I don't know. It's hard to put into words because I know exactly what you're saying, because you do get less of a tolerance for bullshit the
mhm,
older that you get. But you also, I think, are able to see past, like, or I think what it's allowed me to is this, is that it's allowed me to see that most of the time that people's motivations are, when it's something that like maybe I disagree with, like let's just say somebody's doing something, I'm like, it's allowed me to have a compassion for them, because it's usually coming from a place of fear or lack or feeling less than, and so they act this certain way and maybe are
Yeah, I've
behaving in
always felt
this.
like that. I think that hasn't come with age, but I do feel like I'm less nice about it now. I'm telling you, it's the lack of estrogen.
No, it is, because estrogen is our
Like,
compassion hormone. And
yeah.
it's weird because I think I've gotten more compassionate or more understanding.
No, I used to understand everything. I believed that everyone was always coming from a good place. Everyone was always had good intentions. Pretty much. I mean, unless you're like a psychopath or something, but for the most part, like everyone's doing the best they can. They're
And now you
like,
don't believe that.
no. Now I'm like, or I'm like, I do believe it, but
You just
I'm
don't have time
bitchier
for
about
it.
it. I believe it, but I'm like, I don't like you. Where
mm.
before I wouldn't say I don't like you. Before I would be like, it's just you. I mean, not my vibe, but hey, whatever. Now I'm like, no, I don't like them.
Well, I call that postjudice as opposed to prejudice. It's like I meet you first and I decide whether I like you or not. because there are some people who you will see are trying very hard to, I don't know, capture the limelight or whatever, and you're like, oh gosh, this is a lot. And then there might be somebody else who may have the same characteristics, but you see that they really are just a playful child, and you're like, okay, I'm all right with you, you know. So people don't know why you make your decision, but you know what your internal compass is.
Yeah, discernment.
Mm.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm
I
so
think
excited. I want to have you on in a year and see, because I feel like your journey is going to continue to pivot, and or 6 months or a year or something, and we'll see where you end up, what you end up doing. I mean, I think you'll end up being in the realm you're in now, but it just might look a little different than you're expecting.
Yeah, I feel the same way. That's why I'm excited. It's like unpacking. I said to the universe, make it a surprise that will delight me, as opposed to, a 2x4 or something. It's like, make it something delightful and, blingy, pretty, all that Venusian type of words, make it gorgeous and delicious.
I love
So,
that.
Yeah, well, I think it's just important for women who are listening, if maybe they're contemplating this, is to think about how I think the society tries to tell us that a woman over 50, I think there was some politician recently, maybe it was even our president, I don't know, how a woman over 50 doesn't have anything to offer. We can't reproduce, which is what a lot of people think that is a woman's worth. And that is not true. But we have decades of experience and skills under our belts that are just so transferable. I mean, I think that even for stay-at-home moms, like for myself, when I was primarily a stay-at-home mom, I was basically running a small company. It's like scheduling everything, paying bills. It's like interpersonal, intrapersonal. It was every type of skill that would be needed. And I think it's just that sometimes we downplay ourselves, but we have to just remember that so much of what we've done, if you are looking to transfer careers and
Or start a first time career if you've been a mom, like you're saying.
yes,
Yeah.
yeah, that it's never too late, that all of your skills are just so easily transferable. I mean, we just are able to take our real world experiences that we've had and transfer them into some other career or something, whatever it is that we decide to do. So I think it's just important to not limit yourself and just think, well, I've always done accounting.
right.
So maybe I'm not going to work for an accounting firm, but maybe I'm going to do bookkeeping on the side. You know what? Maybe that's not what you want to do. Like maybe it's
Hmm.
something else that you want to do, that accounting is just that analytical mind is going to help you in your next career or your next, whatever you want to call it, second act.
Chapter.
I mean, yeah,
Yeah.
chapter. I love that. So I think that is just believe in yourself.
Yes, and even when you don't believe in yourself, believe that you can believe in yourself at some point. I know it sounds like very meta to say that, but sometimes you will doubt yourself, but then you've got to have enough belief to get past that moment of doubt so that you can keep on going. It's messy to reach for something that is authentically you, because when it's authentically you and it's not working, then your entire self identity, you start to question. But don't do that. I would recommend that you just, when a person's going through this kind of transitional phase, is to just have enough awareness to ask yourself some questions. Finish something simple. Like, notice that I'm doing an 8-week phlebotomy program, not a 4-year thing. So in 8 weeks, that's a little something that's taking me a little closer to nursing school, so I could be an injector and make a bunch of money in a short period of time. Because I don't want to spend why do I want to make a bunch of money in a short period of time? I don't want to spend 40 hours a week working. I want to
Yeah.
spend 3 days a week working.
And it's good to be clear about that. So it's not
Mhm.
like sometimes we've got that good girl mindset of like, I can't say I want to make a lot of money. I just want to help people and make people feel good and blah, blah, blah. Like, no, be clear. I need
Mhm.
to make a lot of money because I want to enjoy my life and I don't want to work so
Right.
hard.
I only want to work 20 hours a week, but I want to make 40-hour week money. Yeah.
Exactly.
Women are
Exactly.
taught to be leery of saying they want to make a lot of money.
No, I know. I was one of them, and I learned not to be that way. The other thing that I wanted to share is that part of the reason why I wanted to get into aesthetics was I got tired of 20 to 30, not that I have anything against being 20 to 30 years old, but 20 to 30-year-old influencers talking about how to make your skin look more youthful. And they're already injecting themselves with Botox to avoid looking older. And I thought, something is missing in this narrative, and I'm going to get to the bottom of it. I'm going to find out what really works and how does it affect you long term. So there's
Yeah,
more to it.
injections at 20 and 30 are insane to me.
Hmm.
But
That's just
it's always the 20-year-old fitness influencer. I'm like, girl,
really
you
lean
haven't had
person.
children.
Right.
Come see
It's
me
like,
after you put 3 babies out.
yeah.
And you have gone through menopause and you have had all of the life on earth with gravity. I'm like, gravity is a bitch. So yeah, it is. We need more women who are the mature age to be able to say, like, this is how you can stay fit in your 50s, or you can have your best skin in your 60s. So,
Chantel. So I'm a beauty influencer, and people come to me all the time and say, just tell me what cream can help my sagging skin right here. Just tell me which one. I've tried so many. I'm like, sis, none of them, none of them. But people, because there are so many ads of people saying, oh, this cream lifts, this does, like, a cream is not going to, like, if
yeah,
you have
right.
no, it's not. I'm like, that's either, I don't know because I haven't done like lasers and all that stuff, but maybe lasers could help that. But otherwise, you're like looking at surgery for a lower neck lift if, because they're talking about having like a turkey neck. I'm like, I think that is certain. There's no cream out there. And they're like, I'll buy it. And then they're like, oh, well, I don't want that. I want a cream. But they still don't understand. And these like cellulite creams, I'm like, those don't work. Don't work.
Right.
So you're going to be telling the truth.
Mhm.
It's infuriating.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to provide the science behind whatever it is that people are doing. And I also want to see long-term studies. Like I saw on TikTok something with volufiline. And I'm like, if that really does plump up your fat cells, like they're saying, what is that really doing to your body? Because I started writing a book called Dangerous Beauty because it was all the stuff that we've done for the last 3,000 years in the name of becoming beautiful, including things like powder that had lead in it so that your skin would be whiter, or wearing dresses that was during the Roman Empire, or wearing dresses that were wet so you could look like a Roman sculpture, and then everybody getting, pneumonia. So those are the things that we do. So still got my quality assurance eye on the beauty industry and want to make sure that people know what they're doing. I'm not going to tell you not to do what you want to do. You can have surgery. They've got better surgeries now that look better than, just being old. They actually look a little fresher, but you can make a decision with as an informed consumer as opposed to just going for the latest thing that somebody tells you. But
Well, we definitely need your voice out there.
thank you.
Yeah.
Primarily, I want everyone to feel good about the maturation process and to simply look their best because it reflects that their health has improved.
Yeah. When you feel good, it comes through. You have a light that that is kind of from within. I think I can see that in people all the time.
I
So,
see that in my mom. So she's 78, and I see her if she's having a rough day, like depressed day, because she's a widow, and so she sometimes will have like a bad day, and she will look like she's 85 and like sickly. And then the next day, like if she goes out with her girlfriends and she's like energized and had, she looks 10 years younger.
yes.
I'm like, and I make sure to tell, I'm like, Mom, because you were so like happy and you got out today and you socialized and you did like, you look so, I mean, it's like we really do shine from within.
Mhm.
Yes.
100%.
Yes.
Definitely.
And I would love to do some inner work with women because that's what started me on my journey. So that's probably going to be the next step, incorporating that into the whole beauty field.
You
Yeah.
definitely have a gift of words. So you
Thank
express
you.
yourself very well, especially with the spiritual piece and the awakening piece. So you do a workshop, I'll attend.
Yeah.
Thank you. I'll let you know.
Well, we are so grateful for you to come on and share your experience. And I know that you are going to inspire some of our listeners to at least begin to maybe think about their second act. If you haven't already, hit the follow button on the podcast. Do that now so that you get informed each week when we release an episode.
And you can follow us on Instagram, TikTok, and watch full versions on YouTube. And we will see you next week. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
This has been a production of Estrogen Dropouts, LLC.